All right. Here we are once again. Seems like we never left. The gang's all here. All right. So at the round table, we are starting, and these people need no introduction. So I'm gonna let them just say it on themselves. It's kind of weird though, because we're in Facebook, Zoom, and it's both of them married together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ladies first. So down here, like in Hollywood Squares, we have who it is, the pit bull in the dress.
Hi, family. I miss you guys so much, but I'm so excited to be back at the round table. I miss my brothers so much. So this is so great just to have something so we can get back to our family, guys. It's been too long. How many weeks has it been?
Mm.
About 6, 7, maybe.
Oh, wow. That's too
Maybe.
long. Too long.
Too long. And of course, over here, this way is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Adrian Biddle. Adrian A Money Biddle. Why do we call him A Money?
Because you can
bank on it. Yes.
Y'all are silly. Y'all are silly. Well, it's good to be back with y'all as well.
Yes,
I certainly been missing sitting down with y'all and discussing topics of the day.
Yes. And Melissa, you got to introduce our guest. This gentleman right here, let me tell you, I mean, I want to thank you for bringing him onto the show because we've been watching and this, you know, we going up levels now. You done brought this brother here. So, hey, go ahead, sis.
So I am excited to bring to you Mr. Damion. He is a mental health advocate and the creator and the host of The Couch 704. I was going back through some of your past events or pictures from some of your past events, and I see that you know a couple of people that I know. So I said, okay, this brother is solid. Let me reach out to him and see if we could get him on the show because right now mental health is so important. And so, family, we have the one and the only, not your average therapist.
Yes,
Give him a hand,
indeed.
Mr. Damion.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you guys having me for sure. Definitely.
So, Damion, I know we really want to talk about what mental health looks like once quarantine is over, because a lot of people have had to shift their way of thinking and operating and functioning, having to be under quarantine. But before we get into that, just a little background. How did you become an advocate for mental health? What drew you into this calling?
Oh, good question. I actually I graduated from South Carolina State University. Shout out to the Bulldogs down there in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I actually majored in business management down there, and while I was in school, my aunt actually was a director for the Department of Social Services.
Okay.
And I started doing peer mentorship with high school students and middle school students as well. So I took a liking to that. And upon graduating, when I moved up here to Charlotte back in 2002, I started doing odds and end type of jobs. And then I ended up doing what they called back in the days community-based services, where we worked one-on-one with at-risk youth as well as adults in the community.
Okay.
And during that time, I did that for maybe about 4 to 5 years, and there was kind of like a glass ceiling on that. And I wanted to dig deeper into the underlying issues that led to those kids and those adults having those at-risk behaviors and the increased violence in the neighborhood and increased substance use and things like that. And I always was a questionable type of person. I've always been inquisitive. I've always wanted to ask that question, why? And doing that, it allowed me to kind of see another calling, and becoming a therapist was kind of like that next level aspiration for me. I actually met my first Black mental health clinician, Dr. Kendall Jasper. He's a psychologist, and he was the first Black male that I saw in this field that was, provoking change and being an advocate for mental health in the Black community. And I wanted to kind of mimic that. So definitely shout out to Dr. Kendall Jasper. He's here in Charlotte as well,
Okay.
doing great work. And that led me to go back to school to get my master's and become licensed in 2009. So as of 20, graduating 2011, 2012, I became licensed therapist and have been practicing since.
Awesome. Awesome. And have you seen in your resume, your history in this vast so many years? I didn't know you look so young. I didn't know
Thank you. I appreciate it. I
that you
appreciate it.
had that much tenured in the field. Have you noticed that there is an opening up in the Black community now to mental health and mental health awareness?
Yes, I think it's definitely increased over the last decade as far as people that look like us being in the field. It's predominantly been a field of, women, primarily
Yeah,
Caucasian women,
yeah,
which led to a lot of things that us as African Americans wanted to shy away from. And you can take that back to the historical impact from the Tuskegee experiment, things like
hmm
that, the mistrust with the mental health field as well as the physical health field. There was a lot of mistrust, whether that's due to racism, oppression, all those things. So I would say definitely over the past decade, I've seen a lot more, both women and men, African American or, of minority status, becoming more involved in the psychology and the mental health field. So I'm proud to say that, and I know a lot of young Black male therapists that's out here in the field. They call us purple unicorns because there's not too many around. Uh, but we're definitely out here, and we're making a lot of headway. And there's been a lot of celebrities endorsing, mental health
yes,
progression, whether that you're talking about Charlamagne the God or Taraji P. Henson or Common or
yes,
Kanye West, things like people like that have brought it to the forefront, whether in a negative way, Kanye West, or you're talking about Charlamagne the God, being able to address his anxiety live on camera, to Roger P. Henson developing foundations to offer, free counseling for people.
yes.
So it's definitely been a dramatic shift in that to reduce the stigma that's associated with mental health, primarily in the African American community.
Well, I am a proud participant of therapy, and
Absolutely.
I believe in mental health just as much as physical health. And so long, our society has put a negative stigma around therapy, and then they always harp on mental illness, never mental health. And then with the Black community, it's like, oh, that's white people stuff, or if you go to a therapist, you crazy. And it has taken such a toll on us. I mean, we're the main people that need therapy because we have so many traumatic happenings in our lives and incidents. We suffer from PTSD, and nobody even says it because you don't want to seem dramatic, or you don't want to, oh, they just want attention. That's the kind of things that I heard growing up.
Hmm.
So, we need that. And so for me, I suffer from anxiety, and learning how to calm myself, learning how to identify my triggers, learning how to, if one just comes on, to pull back and calm down, because I don't like meds. I didn't like taking the pills. It just made me so, numb and kind of subdued. So I said, you know what, I want to try to do something. So therapy actually helped me so much. I've been seeing my therapist for about 3 years now, and it has been nothing but up for me. So quarantine
Hmm.
definitely brought on um, that old, you know, default Melissa, like, hey, you gotta be in the house. Oh my God, what if you're out of food? Wait a minute, what's going on? Da, 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 da. And I was like sitting at the desk or working from home, and I'm noticing 30, 45 minutes have went past and I haven't done anything,
Mm.
because I'm just
Hmm.
glazed. Um, to the heart palpitations to the shortness of breath, and then you're figuring, oh my God, do I have COVID-19 because I'm having a shortness of breath? Um,
Right.
all of these things were just building up and layering and layering. And I said, no, 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 you learn how to deal with this. No, 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 you know what you're doing and you know how to stop it. And so, thanks to my therapist, I was able to do that and implement some of the things and the behaviors and some of the teachings to calm myself down. So, talking to some friends, talking to my brothers, we make jokes, about being in the house all day or being with your kids and your family all day. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of people who their norm is a struggle, and
Right.
so it was just, yeah, I believe it was just a blessing to kind of be on our Instagram and come past your profile. And I said, oh wow, this is perfect right now. And they had just started talking about the phases and opening, reopening up. So I said, we got
Right.
to get our family, number one, to say, hey, it's okay that you may have some anxiety, you may have some, some doubts on how you want to make it through the rest of this quarantine. But I really wanted to give our family something to think about once we open back up, what that looks like entering back into, I don't think we'll ever have our norm, but what that looks like getting back into society when you're not practicing, I like to say physical distancing, not social distancing, what that looks like for an average person.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you said a mouthful. It's the residual effect of trauma. This whole pandemic has been traumatic for everyone. And if you've already been struggling, mentally, whether that's depression or anxiety, it's definitely increased and it's not necessarily went anywhere. You just had to kind of learn new coping mechanisms to kind of deal with being in the home. And now you're thinking futuristic because that's what anxiety is. It's the fear of the unknown. So you don't know what it's going to look like, in the months to come. And again, that's related to post trauma and trying to understand, okay, am I going to automatically assume that everybody that I come in contact with, they may still have coronavirus, or, am I going to be able to focus, at my office, when people are walking past me, or someone coughs and they're in the next, cubicle next to me or something like that, or a client of mine coughs, or, they come in sick or something like that. Am I going to automatically shut down and revert back, to the thoughts of right now and how I felt during this whole pandemic, and being able to recognize that and still utilize the coping mechanisms within that new normal, because we have to have a tool belt of things that we utilize in all aspects, whether that's work, whether that's home, whether that's out in the community, having a tool belt of things that you can utilize at any given moment to reduce whatever symptom that you're having at that time.
Very good point. Very good points. So, quick question in regards to that, because you mentioned as far as the new norm, one of the things that happened last night, of course, everybody saw, was our youth being greatly affected by not getting the opportunity to graduate.
Mm.
And as a professional, what could you share with, because there's definitely, as I'm looking over here on the side, we have many people joining on Facebook and they're watching this, and many of them are parents. As a professional, what could you share with them as they talk to their children about quote unquote the new norm and how they can handle this, basically this mental challenge right now?
Right. Well, first and foremost, and not to tell parents this, throughout this pandemic, is to actually exercise some vulnerability, express your own anxiety, and fears about this pandemic and how everyone is affected. So, including yourself as a parent, along with your child, and allowing them to understand that although you may not be able to walk across that stage, the accomplishment is still the same. You still achieved a specific goal, and you're still going to be celebrated. It may not be in the traditional sense of walking across the stage and throwing your diploma up in the air and things like that, but you can still have that family gathering, whether that's a small gathering or what have you, and you still will be celebrated. But being able to be open and honest about your feelings of, okay, I am sad that I'm unable to walk across the stage, and being able to replace that with something positive. Or I am nervous about, I don't know if I'm going to be able to enroll in school come August if I'm going to college or whatever the case may be. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, and being able to express that concern and have a conversation about it is really important.
Good points. Good points. So, family, as we are here with Damion Dash, who is not your average I'm telling you, he's the therapist. We have many of you that are chiming in right now. You're joining, you're welcoming yourselves to the round table. Again, this is one of the things that Melissa brought to the table in order for us to understand, to dispel the stigma. So please feel free to ask any questions, chime in, throw out some statements, whatever the case may be. We appreciate you taking time out right now during this new norm to be a part of the table. Hey, Money, I see you pontificate. You're thinking. I see the wheels turning up there. What you think?
Hey, Damon. So I got one quick question for you. How
Mhm.
would you know when to seek professional help, and not in a derogatory way when I say
Mhm.
professional help? Would you say, for
Absolutely.
example, um, your coping skills when your coping skills no longer actually helps the particular situation that you're going through? How would you give advice for people to recognize that they need to reach out for additional help?
Mhm. Good question. Different layers to that. So I'm gonna try to give you the most comprehensive answer without going too far left, because I'm good for that sometimes. But I would say if you have to ask yourself that question, if you need to go to therapy, then you need to go to therapy. It is really that simple. But because of the stigma that's associated with it, people ordinarily feel like you have to be moderate to severe in your symptoms. Whereas for me as a therapist, I see therapy as just general growth and being able to understand a variety of perspectives outside of your own. Because you shape your pattern of thoughts and everything that you've gone through in your life. It shapes the way that you think. Doesn't mean that it's always accurate, but that's your reality. So being able to look at other perspectives and listen to another person's perspective, an unbiased perspective regarding to what you're experiencing, could be paramount just in your personal growth, whether that's career development, relationships, whatever the case may be. Not only just your mental health. It doesn't have to be, okay, I'm sad, I've been sad for over 30 days or something like that, I need some help. Or I'm starting to get like my heart's beating really, really fast out of nowhere, and so I think I need to go talk to somebody about that. No, it could be as simple as, I got some questions, or I wonder how, my upbringing impacted me now as an adult in my relationships and how I deal with people. It could be very mild, so to answer that question, there's not a specific criteria for the need of therapy. If you have to ask yourself that question, do I need to go to therapy? Yes, you do. 100%. I'm a therapist. I go to therapy. I believe everybody could benefit from therapy. Just to one, purge some of those emotions, get some of your thoughts out from someone that's not going to judge you, that has an unbiased opinion, so on and so forth. So again, everybody needs therapy. We all could use it. We all been going through this pandemic for the past 2, almost 3 months. We all could use a little bit of something. Otherwise, you end up replacing it with something negative, whether that's you may increase your drinking or smoking or sex, and some type of addictive behavior. You're going to replace those negative emotions with something. And I would rather it be something positive like therapy or developing healthier coping skills rather than something that you may be used to doing, you know? But I definitely appreciate that
Yes.
question. That was a really good question.
Oh, yeah. Great answer.
Can't hear you.
Terry, unmute.
My bad, y'all. Robert Connor, Terry Digsby, Kingly Living, Otarius Roseborough. Hoodbeat Magazine just chimed in as well, saying the real mental problem for Black people is that we can't wrap our head around separating from white people because your mental chain is their religion. The King James version of the book said it is very clearly his version is demented philosophy. His pathology means he's crazy. His ideology means he was selfish. Okay, so we have that comment in as well. And we want to ask everybody to definitely comment and chime in, but we also want you to do it from a positive aspect as well, because we definitely want to make sure we're helping people during this course. All right. Terry just chimed in and said that she looks at it as far as it being a positive during this pandemic because of their family relationship being stronger and getting along and finances, basically. So if you don't mind, Damion, chime in on that in regards to how people's perceptions may be in regards to this pandemic and the different views and such, because I'm sure you've definitely been involved with some of them as well and heard from some of them as well.
Yeah, definitely. And just to piggyback on what the young lady just said, looking at it from that aspect, from a relational aspect, this quarantine and staying at home, it actually opened up the avenues and the channels for families to actually sit down, have conversations, any dysfunction that was going on within the family. Just to say, for example, you're having marital strife,
Mm-hmm.
and both of you guys are working full-time jobs, you're moving and shaking, and the only time you're really able to sit down is when you're having dinner and then you're getting ready for bed. So now, you're at home pretty much all day in this awkward silence because there's been some dysfunction or some type of turmoil that's been going on. This big elephant has been in the room all this time. You're actually able now to have that time to actually have those conversations and identify those elephants and resolve those issues. So I definitely agree with her in that aspect of being able to build that family time, getting back to the basics and understanding what's truly important in our life. And that's, family love and being able to love on one another. Because as we can see, people were just dropping like flies and you just never knew. So I took this time to reflect on what's really important, actually slowed down my thought process, implemented some things that I've always wanted to do, ideas, business ideas, opportunities that I felt like I never had time for. This actually was, I would say it's like a sign from God that everybody just need to kind of slow down and kind of focus on, again, what's important and live out your dreams, because you never know how long you're going to be around or a family member is going to be around. So making sure that you're loving on them, telling them that you're loving them, and being able to resolve petty beef. Because a lot of family members got petty beef for no reason at all. It's going on years and you just don't know what the core issue is. And this actually gave us some time to kind of reflect on those things and be able to resolve some of those things. So I looked at it as a positive for sure.
That's what's up. Benjamin Bartlett, thank you for joining us at the round table. Abby De Jesus, my brother, thank you for joining us on At the Round Table. Tonight's topic is mental health as we're going through this COVID virus and even afterwards. It's your time to speak on it and talk about it. It's an open discussion in a positive way, please, in a positive way. So Melissa is thinking over there. I can see it. I see her brain because when Pitbull and dress get ready, she get ready. I see it. Go ahead, chime in, sis.
No. I honestly, I'm appreciative of what he's saying, because sometimes it's not so much that you don't know, but you need someone else to convey it in a very simple manner. And sometimes that second voice helps you get it. The light bulb comes on. And for me, I was very hesitant to be transparent when I started my therapy. I felt like I was already being picked apart and, checked and, critiqued, and you're not this and you don't do this right, or you're too this or not enough this. And I thought that that's what she was going to do. And she did not. And I do have question, Damien. Being
Mhm.
African American, do you feel that other African American therapists have more of an alignment or a natural sync with African American clients or patients versus us seeing, say, another race therapist?
Um, yes and no. Yes, because we relate, because we're visual people, we're
Hmm.
human. So if I'm in a room full of Caucasians, and
Mhm.
I see one or two black people, my mind is going to generally take me over there to the black people because I
Right.
feel like they're going to get me. They're going to understand when, before I let go comes on, the DJ's playing that, we're going to do our two step or we're going to do the electric slide or whatever the case may be because we just automatically assume that they're going to know. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not going to say that some white people can't relate, and we call that cultural competency.
Mhm.
Just being competent, just being able to be aware, not necessarily saying that you have to have that lived experience, because I know plenty of black therapists that grew totally different from me. I grew up kind of in a rough neighborhood, you know, down there with the shootouts and the drug dealers and all those things. So I kind of understand that, but I'm not going to say that every mental health clinician that's African American is able to understand that. So being able to align yourself with a therapist that works for you is the most important process or thing that you can do in the therapeutic process when trying to figure out, is therapy for me? And if so, who should I pick? You align with who you align with. It's just like any other type of relationship. Some people are, all right, I want a brown skinned girl or light skinned girl, or with a woman, it could be, okay, I'm attracted to white men. I just don't know why I'm attracted to white men. So that's what I date. So we go with who we align with in a sense. So I wouldn't say automatically just go to a black person, but that's kind of the assumption that, they're going to understand my plight. You know, I have a lot of men that I see, black men that I see, and they said, I've tried the woman, I've tried the white man, and they just don't understand,
Mhm.
the black man's
Mhm.
struggle or the plight. And and I asked them, well, how do you know that I know your plight? Is it because the way that I look? Because I have, tattoos, and that I don't dress normal as your stereotypical therapist. Like, this is my normal dress.
Right.
Even in the office, I'm quick to have on a hoodie and a t-shirt and some joggers and some sneakers, and I'm okay because I want to be comfortable and I want to make
Mhm.
sure that my client is comfortable. So it really truly depends on your background and your experiences, but not necessarily your color. So it's kind of a twofold. It's yes and no with that.
Can a client, is it appropriate for a client to ask for a therapist background, not in the career, but maybe personal, to see if that therapist, they can feel comfortable with them?
There's limits to what we call self-disclosure,
Hmm.
Mhm.
um, because treatment is about them. It's not about the therapist. And as long as you're able to develop a trusting relationship with the client therapist relationship, if you guys are able to build that trust, then everything works out. Does that mean you need to know that, I need to ask my therapist if he's ever been to jail before, or has he ever smoked
Wow.
weed before?
Right.
Some of those things are, personable, that some therapists may say it. They may say, well, yeah, I've smoked some weed in the past, or, I've gotten locked up for, some driving offenses or something like that. But it's really person centered to that particular therapist and what their limits on their self disclosure is, because you're not really trying to be, a friend. You want to be a listening ear and provide positive feedback, but I'm not trying to be your best friend. I'm trying to help you, in a sense. And sometimes that gray area can get misconstrued if you try to be too much of a friend, and then when you try to bring in some type of confrontation, gentle confrontation, where they may have this thought distortion, or a negative thought, and you confronting them with that because their actions and what they're saying are not matching up, and you confront them, then they're going to look at you in a negative way. Like, or you're supposed to agree with me. We're cool like that. No, that's not what I'm here for. I'm going to let you know what I see. And if it's not pertaining to your goal or you're moving away from your goal, my job is to steer you back towards that.
Sounds like when I'm talking to my children. CD, we got any other comments coming in?
We got Tabitha West just joined us. Thank you for joining us, Tabitha, on At the Roundtable podcast show. We've got, look like Natasha Yana just joined us. She says, all right, Dave. And we have Nunu Cheese just joined us as well. Okay, so we do have a comment. Mr. Bartlett just said, in regards to changing the narrative, so there are more purple unicorns, so to speak, or less of a stigma when meeting or referring to one. How do you serve those who are caught up trying to figure things out themselves?
In regards to whether they should access treatment, or you're talking about students, I'm trying to see what direction he's trying to take that.
Okay, so then he did a second part saying, would argue that we need to move beyond the traditional approach of reaching wellness, mentally, physically, and spiritually. But what's your perspective?
Yes, I'm absolutely for the mind, body, and soul. All of those things are connected. You know, when you're physically not in good health, more than likely your mental health is going to be off. If you're overweight and you feel unmotivated, that will impact your mental health. If you have a fear of dying from a heart attack because you know, not eating right, that affects your mental health. If you don't have something that you utilize to kind of maintain, I don't want to say religion or whatever spiritual practice, all those things align with how you think, and how you think is how you would emote, you know, or show emotions, and all those things are connected. Your mind, your emotions, and how you respond to certain situations, all those things have to align, and when they don't, that's when you have an increase in symptoms. So I definitely agree with reducing or increasing, you know, as far as these purple unicorns, you know, being more out in the forefront, being in the community, because therapy doesn't start, you know, on the couch. You know, it starts in the home, it starts in the community. So, you know, taking it back to when we provided community-based services and making it more accepting to be vulnerable, you know, for especially guys, like from a cultural standpoint, we grew up culturally being cut off of two of the four basic emotions. You know, we were only allowed to be happy and angry. You know, we were told not to cry, do not be sad, do not fear anything but God. But, you know, those are normal responses. And when you cut those things off, when you cut those two off, it affects you as you grow older. It affects you in your relationships. And now your girlfriend is saying, well, he doesn't talk to me. I don't understand how he feels. All I know is when he's angry and when he's happy. I don't know what stresses him out. I don't know what makes him sad, you know, all those things. So being able to allow, you know, African American men to say it's okay to not be okay, you know, and being able to be vulnerable in a sense, and not always feel like you have to be on the defense or have this wall up or show this macho persona. You know, strength truly comes when you're able to be vulnerable, to be able to show someone how you're feeling, what your emotions are, and say, I'm giving you this information. You can take it how you want to, but I'm still going to be okay. You know, you can use it against me or whatever. I'm giving you my blueprint, and giving you my blueprint is giving you, I'm showing you my strength. Withholding that information is a weakness, but being able to show it and broadcasting, whoever wants to know how I'm feeling and be able to express that in the right way, that's true strength for a man. We have to change that narrative that, you know, sucking it up and holding it all in, and, you know what I'm saying, I'm a man, hear me roar, beat my chest. That's not really strength.
I love that. Here's my blueprint. That's, you know, we always have a tagline in each show. That's one of them. Here's my blueprint. That was pretty heavy. I like that. And for me, Damion, I I am all those things that you just described in being a woman. And so I have the other part of, well, something wrong with me because I I can identify with all those things that quote unquote was for a man, you know. Um, so having that option and having the vulnerable, that's a scary word for me. It
Mm.
always has been, and I'm working through it, but it is very, very difficult for me to be vulnerable. So just you saying, here's my blueprint, made vulnerability more acceptable because it's not that I'm changing who I am, I'm just telling you who I am. So thank
Right.
you for that, my brother. Thank you.
No problem. No problem at all.
I got something I'm gonna read to you real quick, Damien, and get
Okay.
your opinion on something. Okay, so the Kaiser Family Foundation did a poll and said 50% of Americans worry or stress about the current outbreak. Frontline home healthcare and family, 64% report worsening mental health. So, are there? I know one size doesn't fit all, but is there any kind of coping skills that you can advise that may help some of the frontline essential
Mm.
people, or as well as just people in general that's
Right.
dealing and trying to cope with the current
Excuse me.
situation?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, self-care is very important during this time. Taking the time and whatever that means, that doesn't always necessarily mean which it should include. Exercising, figuring out what works for you, even though we can't go to the gym, but being able to go outside, go for a walk, go for a jog, do some push-ups, sit-ups in the house, doing yoga, meditation, every morning I wake up, especially if it's sunny outside, not raining or anything, I do what's called grounding. I go in my front yard and I'll just take my shoes off, no socks, anything. I'm barefoot in the grass, and I'm just focusing on my five senses. What am I hearing? What am I smelling? What am I feeling? Those types of things to help center myself every day. Because as a therapist, you're getting everyone else's energy. I'm an empath by nature. So I feel everything. I feel everyone's pain, their hurt, all those things. So being able to maintain a balance is very important. And it's the same thing for someone that's a frontline worker, a healthcare worker, being able to understand what you can and cannot control, for one, but self care, doing those things when you're off of work to maintain, whether that's when you walk in the house, you turning on your music and you're letting go, or like I said, exercising, eating right, sleep is one of those main things that we often overlook, and that impacts our mental health tremendously. Over half of us don't get the right amount of sleep, and I'm probably on that half that don't get enough sleep, And when you don't get enough sleep, you wake up, you're already irritable, you're in a foul mood, things like that. But just imagine if that happens to you
Mm-hmm.
every day, in addition to just life, stressors and things that you normally deal with other people. But making sure that you're maintaining a healthy regimen, creating a new normal for yourself, whether that's exercising, whether that's, dancing. I love seeing people's TikTok videos, things like that, just letting loose, because we can get so caught up in looking at social media, looking at the news, looking at the deaths, looking at the impact of this pandemic, that we're not being fully present, with what we do have and being grateful for what we do have at this moment. So I would say,
Yes.
meditation, exercise, eating and sleeping right, and overall just being grateful for what you do have.
Very good. Yes, indeed.
Oh, appreciate that.
So we got another question for you, brother.
Mhm.
Brother Benjamin Bartlett just asked a very good question. Beat me to it. Mad at you, Ben. But here we go. He said, "What is the greatest barrier or barriers in serving individuals, families in a truly holistic manner? And do you think it will be something different as a result of the virus, the COVID virus?"
Biggest barrier. Number one is thought process.
Mm.
Unable to see, a different perspective. I've always been like this, so why change? That's normally the response. I've always been this way, so why change? Everybody knows I'm an ass, so why do I need to change that? You know?
Mm.
And for a lot of people throughout their time, certain negative behaviors have produced positive results. So you continue to do that thing, even though you know it's negative, but it's giving you, you're getting something out of it. It's something positive out of that. So being able to say, okay, I know that there's something that I need to work on, and being able to address that, and being like Melissa said, just being vulnerable in that sense, and just being able to say, okay, I'm going to work on this. This is my journey, my individualistic journey, and taking it from there. But it takes, a person being accountable for themselves. That accountability factor is huge. A lot of people say, well, if she didn't do this or he didn't do this, I wouldn't be feeling this particular way. You're in control of your own emotions. You control how you respond to certain situations. We can experience the same exact situation, and my response could be totally different. And that's based on my thought processes, based on my experiences. And not all experiences are the same. So we're going to have different, emotions and emotional responses to the same situations. Just like in this pandemic, a lot of people may have had increased anxiety or depression, whereas some people were like, whew, I actually get a break. I'm actually able to focus on something that I really wanted to focus on. And now I have the opportunity to do that. You know, create this business or create this opportunity that otherwise I wouldn't have time to do because I'm working 50, 60 hours a week in an office. But now I'm home, I'm able to do those particular things. So it's all about the thought process and your perspective and being able to change that.
Very good. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Be positive.
Be positive.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, quick question. And this is coming from me, because basically it seems like one of the things culturally has been basically we don't tell our business, and we think that we can't afford therapy.
hmm
What could you share with the people tonight to allow them to understand that those two things are two main stigmas that we gotta get rid of? Because if you can go spend money and turn up and such, you can
Right,
invest in
Or
your mental
some
health.
Jordans.
There you
right,
go.
exactly.
And just a stigma as far as we as Black folk, we keep our business to ourselves,
Right.
quote unquote, suck it up.
hmm
Or you take that to the Lord, things of that
Right.
nature.
Right.
Expound on that, brother.
Absolutely. First and foremost, that thought of we don't share. That can go back as far as we can take it back. We can take it back to slavery and keeping everything in house so master don't know what's going on. Not showing that emotion, not showing that fear or that sadness or that anger or that hatred or that resentment, being able to bottle those things up and use it as motivation,
Mhm.
to free ourselves. We took that as more of a protective measure. And I think from that point on, we never transitioned emotionally. We still stayed in that same thought process. We keep everything internal. We don't talk about nothing that goes on in this house. This is our business. And we're paying residually for that. There have been a lot of things that we have experienced, our parents have experienced, our grandparents have experienced, that as you got older, you start to hear these stories, and you're like, wow, oh my goodness, I never knew that you went through this, and I wouldn't be able to manage that. So it is, it's a good thing that mental health is coming to the forefront and being more expressive is coming to the forefront. And us as Black people are becoming more in tune and getting back to us, whether that's we're practicing yoga more. You see way more Black people practicing yoga and meditation and Wusan and everything else, nowadays, because we're getting more in tuned with ourselves, our ancestors, things like that. Whatever religion, I'm biased in regards to that, but I felt like a lot of times we took our issues or the things that we felt internally and felt like God was just going to do it or Jesus is going to take care of it. Whereas I come from the mindset of, okay, he's going to help you assist in that, and like the Bible says, faith without work is dead. If you're not doing the work, he's not going to help you. It's just not going to miraculously happen. Your depression is not going to miraculously happen because you're trying to pray it away. You actually have to do the work as well. So just on that cultural standpoint, I feel like we're doing a little bit more in regards to addressing it even within the church setting, allowing church members to understand the importance of getting treatment. And if you're going through things, yes, you can pray, you can have the pastor pray, give you the oil over your head and the whole nine, but also you need to go schedule that appointment with your therapist next week as well. And on the other end, I just got off track. So you got to tell me the second part.
Keep going.
I was on the roll for a second.
You good. As far as just the dispelling of not only, what's happened to us culturally, because two things have happened as regards to what you keep in the house and the financial portion of it, how we can invest.
Finance. I mean, just like anything else, you invest in what you prioritize in your life. And our mental health has always been at the lower end of the totem pole as far as our priority. We want to make sure we're taking care of our bills, making sure we're taking care of ourselves materialistically, but from an emotional standpoint, we're not investing in ourselves. And I've seen the shift in regards to people being able to say, okay, this is important, so I'm going to set aside this money for this. Just as like you would go for a physical or your regular checkups with your doctor, it's the same thing with therapy. I honestly believe that everyone should have that mental health checkup yearly, just like you would get a regular physical. And it's the same. It doesn't cost you anything more than just your copay. And for people that can't afford copays and things like that, there are a lot of programs out here that will give you, therapy sessions for free or little to nothing. A lot of EAP programs within your job, they're giving free sessions. They'll give you 8 free sessions. If you need more, all you have to do is ask for more. So there are plenty of opportunities to dispel the myth from the financial aspect. That should not, and I always tell my clients personally, that should not be a barrier for you from a financial aspect. If you can't afford, we can work something out. I would rather have you on this earth than for you to say, well, no, I'm not going to go to therapy and die by suicide because you couldn't afford a $40 copay. You know what I mean? So understand the significance and placing priority on your mental health over the financial potential burden that it may cost. We spend $40 going out to eat, in a week, or in a couple of days. I'll say a couple of days. It's pretty hot. You go to wherever and you get 2 meals, that's $40. Or you get those J's, that's $200. That's several sessions right there. So just placing a priority on your mental health just as much as your physical health is important.
Damion, I have a question. With the quarantine, we have learned and had to think outside the box. Now, my therapist has been doing virtual sessions the past year. With that being said, do you find that this is something that you will implement once we go back to, if you're not doing it already, once we go back to our new norm, to reach more clients, to have more availability? Because sometimes when you're trying to have someone locally, also when we're talking about trying to find a therapist that fits, not to say that you can't find someone locally within your city or town, but it gives you more of a variety. And this is how I wind up being able to align with mine, is that she's not here in Charlotte, but she is definitely available just like she was. So do you see yourself implementing more virtual if that is not something that you practice already?
Yeah, definitely practice that or currently, I see just as a new normal, I feel like a lot of the mobile technology opportunities, it raised awareness, from the mental health standpoint, saying, okay, wherever you are, I can connect with you. That's definitely a positive, to be able to have that access, from a mental health standpoint. And from a job standpoint, a lot of employers are seeing that, they can maintain or even exceed, productivity with their employees working from home. There hasn't been a dramatic drop off at all in that aspect. However, there's a caveat to that. Um, One is centered around the person. So if they're more comfortable being face to face, then that's definitely on the table. That's still an opportunity for that. And for me being, you know, an empath, sometimes I want to feel you face to face. Nothing takes away from that. We can't replace that connection from a human aspect. That's why we're struggling, because we want to be around people. We want to be in a social environment. So to take that away and say that's like a norm, it's kind of like I'm still on the fence about it, because I like being in front of those people, actually feeling them, their vibrations and things like that face to face. Although I can still feel it, like I feel you guys right now. But if we were face to face, it'll be a little bit different. You know. I hope that answered your question,
It
Melissa.
did. It did. And once we're able to gather, then we're gonna have you back.
I'm all for
Oh, he's thinking again, y'all. I see it.
Oh
it.
no, I was enjoying the conversation.
It is.
Hey,
It's
It's
kind
just
of
money.
cute because
amazing though. You being
These are when the
you
family
being an
and our
empath
listeners and
though.
our viewers are like they're soaking it in like a sponge, because usually we have a lot of comments, a lot of opinions, and they're taking it in. So this is great. This is awesome.
Katrina Lynch just joined us. Thank you for joining us on at the round table. Reginald Kirkpatrick just joined us. Thank you for joining us on at the round table. Tonight we're talking about mental health during this COVID virus and even afterwards, and then the myths and the stigmas. So we want you to definitely chime in. Give us your thoughts. We have not your average therapist right here, Damon Dash. Damon, let's talk about, if you don't mind, we're gonna kind of keep it in the realm, but let's talk about 704 the couch.
Okay, we can definitely talk about that.
We got to throw that in there. We got to plug that, man. Come on.
Yeah,
Share with
absolutely.
us the concept. How did you come up with it?
Concept. About 2 years ago, being a therapist, and not necessarily saying that I wasn't fulfilled in what I was doing and what I do, because I am, but I felt like I can reach, or the reach, was limited in just working in an outpatient setting, in a room. And the social media allows you to reach as many people as you possibly can. And I thought of the idea, about 2 years ago, to bring it from a perspective where I can just be myself. If I decide to say a curse word or something like that, I wouldn't be censored. I probably wouldn't say that in a therapy session, but I'm able to talk about a whole lot of variety of topics, from mental health to relationships to sex to porn to adoption to trauma to any and everything up under the sun, because everything relates back to our mental health, and how we interact with each other and how we develop relationships. So I wanted to take a different perspective in addressing those things. And the couch was formed. And shout out to my co-host. She was there from day one, Jacqueline Curry. She's an awesome therapist as well. And we kind of got together, and she went along with the idea, and almost 2 years later, the couch is still here, and we're getting better, and we're in season 6, so coming up within this next month, the Couch 704, the 6th season will be coming out, be new and improved. And, we're still going to be talking about mental health, but we're going to be taking it from a personable perspective, where we're talking about people's life experiences and how that has impacted their mental health over time. So we're going to have ordinary people doing extraordinary things out here and talking about it on the couch this year. So that's kind of like my baby, and I look forward to continuing it growing.
Yeah, congratulations with that.
Yes,
I caught an
indeed.
episode
Yes,
or two myself, and I was drawn in within the first 2 minutes of it.
Oh, I appreciate it. Again, we try to keep it normal, and we try to keep it fun, but at the same time informative. And well, I wanted to give what I didn't want to see. I don't want to see this square guy just sitting there with the button up and legs crossed and talking monotone and not being himself. So this is me every day. Like, I want to have fun. I want to laugh. I want to still give knowledge, and spread and reduce the stigma associated with mental health, because everybody has mental health. Everybody. Whether it's mild to severe, everybody has something that we struggle with, and being able to highlight those things and being able to be resilient and bounce back, especially us as African Americans, is very important to me. So, as long as I'm here, the couch will be here, and we're going to continue to, put some great information out there. So you guys make sure you follow that, and, check out the website, couch704.com. And everything is the Couch 704. On various platforms, podcasts, YouTube, of course, Facebook and IG, and Anchor as well, Google Podcasts, Spotify. So we're trying to be all over, because we want to, again, reach as many people as possible, to reduce the stigma associated with mental health.
There you go. Mahogany to BT, thank you for joining us on that Roundtable show, which we are sitting with Damion Dash, the man behind Couch 704, and a mental health expert. He has really blessed us this show. So, guys, we are coming down to the wire. I can't believe this.
It seemed like it was like going slow, but it seems like it shouldn't be over, right?
It does that all the time. We get into it, and all of a sudden we're looking at the clock, and it's like, wow. Man, oh man. Right. Closing thoughts, guys. Should we go to A Money first? I can point out A Money.
Closing thoughts here on my end is, as Damion already pretty much addressed it, for the people that's out there dealing with stuff and you're trying to do coping skills at home, make sure you exercise, drink plenty of fluid, get your rest, reach out to people, connect to people. You can connect people by phone. There was something else as well. Limit your social media habits as far as views, and just connect with folks.
Good point. Pitbull in a dress.
For me, I am taking away the blueprint. This is my blueprint. I needed that. Thank you. You have no idea the impact that's just taken with me. And same thing, think positive. Anything that is negative, we are not obligated to have that in our day. We are not obligated to share air with negativity. So we have to make sure that we give ourselves that permission to say, you know what, that's not working for me, and remove yourself, and it's okay.
Indeed.
CD, the man that stirred the drink.
I miss doing that. No, I think this was very, very informative, and it's interesting because, and I got to thank you, Melissa, for doing this, because you really, you hit it out with this brother right here, and just Damion, the way you present it, it makes it so comfortable for people to understand that this is just like going to get a checkup. This is just like going and getting your car tuned up. This is just like going and buying the next outfit. It's an investment in yourself. And I think this has been very, very informative. And we needed to hear this now more than ever, in spite of what we're going through, even beyond the COVID virus. But we as a people need individuals like you to pour into and support.
Wow.
So thank you for this. That's what I got from it. Man, it was a blessing.
Well,
And-
again,
And I wore
thank you guys.
green.
Oh,
I have on
yes,
my green.
it is Mental Health Awareness Month all month. So make sure when you see the green, that's, that signifies mental health,
Mm.
And, we're changing that stigma from mental illness to mental wellness. If we replace that I with we, it turns from illness to wellness. So got that from Malcolm X. That's a quote that he quoted way back. So I don't take any ownership of that at all. But, when you see that green, we're talking about mental wellness, and it's not about, severely depressed, or you got to be suicidal, or you got to be quote unquote crazy. That word, I don't necessarily like the word crazy, because what is crazy, we really don't know. It's just a different perspective. But just taking care of yourself, and that's mind, body, and soul. That's what I take away from it. Everything is connected, making sure we're trying to maintain whatever balance, however you define balance in your life. Make sure you do that. Work, life, relationship balance, all those things need to have some type of priority, in your life, and and love on each other. Like, I'm always a proponent and an advocate of love. I'm almost like Diddy sometimes. He's like that brother love type thing. Like, just spread love and positivity, man, and you attract what you put out. So if you don't want dysfunction, you don't need to be dysfunctional. You attract what you put out.
Damion, social media, or with the Couch 704, or even your private practice, any information that you would like to share with our family, please do so now. How they can contact you, how they can follow you, and then we will also then post it on our page.
Sure. Well, like I said before, the Couch 704 on all media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, everything is a Couch 704. YouTube, your favorite podcast platform as well. Individually, Damion Harmon, that's my actual government name. Damion Dash is not my real name. So when people call my office, don't ask for Damion Dash, because they'll be like, we don't have Damion Dash. It's Damion Harmon, Damion Harmon, HARMON.com. I'm there. I do speaking engagements, panel discussions, outpatient therapy. You can find me. You can follow me on Instagram, Damion, DAMEON_dash, like it is on the screen. On IG, on Facebook, it's the same thing without the dash. So Damion Dash on IG and Facebook as well. I'm pretty active, so if you follow me, I'll follow you back. Not a big deal.
Well, I want to thank you for accepting my invitation and the back and forth, and it has truly been a treat to have you on the show and at the round table. This will go down as one of our favorite shows. I can promise you that. So we wish you well, favor, and we hope to see you in person again on the show. But
Yes.
another time we may have to have you back on again if we are still under quarantine. Just to continue on giving the people what they need to continue to be healthy, mind, body, and soul.
All right, y'all heard it first right here at the round table. Y'all be good. Share this if you get a chance. Let the people know, because we got to get the word out about this. And y'all have a great, positive day. All right? We love y'all.
All right, peace.
Peace.